So welcome to my very first video where I'm going to talk about something that has shaped me, changed me, and taken a lot of mental and physical struggle over the last couple of years, and that is, as the title suggests, being in a relationship. Now, for some of us, I don't want to go into too much detail. I was in a relationship with somebody for a very long time. That person's still amazing. But for whatever reason, looking back now, I realise that what I truly feel inside wasn't being fulfilled, and I think that's part of the reason why we mutually decided to part. And then I found myself in a new relationship, and this person was very, very different to anything I've ever known in my life. And since being with this person, I have come to learn so much about myself on a negative and a positive. And at times, I've not wanted that growth. I've fought against that growth. And it was nothing that this person has necessarily done, but just the way that they are and their reactions and their morals and values has made me realise lots of things about myself that I've managed to bury for a very long time, and they've all come up to the surface and I've had to deal with them, which has been incredibly painful at times, a struggle at times, but other times a celebration, a success, because I can see myself slowly growing as a person. And again, I'm trying not to go into too much detail. It's not fair for me to go into lots of detail about mine and my relationship, because that's my relationship and it's personal and it's private. But at the beginning of this year, these three words just kept revisiting me. And those words, as the title suggests, well, it's more than three words, I can't count, but all about collaboration, acceptance, and growth. Those are, I suppose, they were the three key words that kept coming up time and time again. And I realised when I looked back at my previous relationship, not all three of those were there. And that is possibly why I didn't feel fulfilled. Just very quickly before I get on to talking about these three words and why I believe a relationship should have all three of these, I just want to sort of give you a background on myself, because a hindrance as well as a positive, am an overachiever and so ambitious that sometimes I trip myself up. I am not somebody that wants to sit around and let life pass me by. I am somebody who wants to grab life and get the most out of it. And sometimes for me, I wish I didn't have that. I don't want to change myself, and I'm glad that I do have it, that I do have this ambition. But I see other people who probably have ambition. I'm just sort of judging on the surface here, which I should never do, but who don't seem to have as much necessarily external drive. I don't see them having this drive to do this or do this or do this. They're very happy in what they're doing and where they are in their life, and that's amazing. And they don't seem to necessarily want to change where they are. Amazing for them. I'm not going to fault them for a second. But for me, no matter what I get to in my life, there is always something more that I want to do. I'm not going to be somebody who will ever settle for something. And that to me has been a bit of a hindrance. But going back to the main point of this video, this year has made me realise that so much more. And these three words, as I say, have just come up in my head time and time and time again. And I realise that they are three words, three qualities that I truly believe every relationship needs to have. Now, the first one, this is all personal experience, by the way. If you disagree with this, I'm not saying I'm right. I've got no background in medical, spiritual, anything. This is my own journey. But this is why I think these three traits need to be found in a relationship. Now, the first one is really important to me. The first one is collaboration, because you hear all the time the word compromise. In a relationship, you should be able to compromise. And I'm not saying, if I really thought about it, that that's a bad thing. But I like to use the word collaboration because I feel that if you compromise anything about yourself or the situation or whatever it might be, I think that it's detrimental to yourself, because you're saying, okay, I really wanted to do this, but you don't, or you can't, or whatever. So let's not do this. Does that make any sense? So, you know, I really want to go to the beach on Saturday. Oh, you don't want to go to the beach. Okay, let's not go to the beach. Should we go somewhere else? Now, that also could be seen as collaboration, but if you have a value, if you have a goal, if you have something you wish to do or wish to be, to compromise means that you're cutting away in some way from that goal or that ambition or that dream. In a relationship, I don't ever feel, no matter how much you love somebody and you're with somebody, that you should ever compromise those values. You should never cut away at those values or those ambitions or those dreams. A relationship to me is about collaboration. Yes, some situations you might think, well, Jen, you kind of have compromised in that situation because you wanted to do this, he wanted to do that, you sort of met somewhere in the middle. That is kind of compromise. But I feel I like the word collaboration more. I feel that collaboration means that both parties get to fulfill those ambitions, those dreams, without losing some of it because of somebody else that they're in a relationship with. So that's the first one for me, collaboration. I don't like the word compromise. I won't use the word compromise. It's all about collaboration. If I truly want to do something, I am going to do it. And there have been times where I have compromised and I realise how I felt afterwards and what I felt like I missed or lost out on. And I know through growth that I don't want to do that again. So for me, it's about collaboration. Hang on a second. I actually want to do this, so how am I going to do this if you don't want to do that? You know, it's for me, collaboration important. Number two is a hard one for me, and I'm still not there yet, is acceptance. Now, that doesn't mean, okay, I accept the fact that my partner's a serial killer. I can't change that. You know, I'm not going to that extreme. He's not, by the way. That was just a metaphorical... Was that not even metaphorical? That was just a hypothetical, that's the word, hypothetical idea. And this goes for any relationship. I think collaboration goes for any relationship, not just a relationship with a partner. It goes for friendship, families, etc. I accept the fact that this person that you're in a relationship with, or you have a relationship with, whether it be family, a friend, a partner, they're not you. Now, that just might sound really obvious, but think about it for a second. How many times have you wanted or expected, and that's another word I'm going to get onto in another video, I don't like using the word expected anymore, expected somebody to react in a way because you would react in that way. For me, that has been a big growth because I am a very emotional person and I feel things so strongly. Again, another video coming up about that. I feel like my core is deep rooted to the people around me, and if something upsets me, it rocks my core. If something elevates me and excites me, I am just like a little puppy given that freedom. Like, I find it very difficult sometimes because my emotions are very raw and very, very strong. And I know how I react to situations. So if somebody is upset, I want to comfort them. I want to hug them. I want to say lovely things to them. I want to make them feel better. But somebody else that you have a relationship with, a friendship, a partnership, a family member, isn't necessarily going to react to the same situation. So if you find yourself upset or struggling with something, and you're thinking, well, why is that person not comforting me? Why is that person not doing this or doing that or doing that? It's because they're not you. They have different values. They have different things. And the basic idea of any relationship, no matter where you are with that person, is accepting the fact that they are not you. They are an individual. Yes, they will have things that you perhaps dislike about them or you find difficult to get on with. But if you want to have a relationship with that person, you have to accept that and not fight against it. And it sounds easy to say because I've spent the last 12 months fighting against things that I've not been able to accept until this point now. If you're constantly fighting, and I don't mean verbally or physically fighting with somebody, but if you're constantly fighting your conscience with that person being a certain way and you're not liking it, but you can't accept that, then that person, you need to let that person out of your life. You need to let them go. You need to step back from that situation because they will never change for you. They shouldn't ever have to change for anybody but themselves anyway. And if you can't accept that person as they are, then don't choose to have a relationship with them. Does that make sense? So that again goes across the whole board with family, with friends, with a partner. You have to accept them as a person, as they are. Everybody has flaws, and I'm not saying that, you know, there are some severe flaws that I don't want to get into at the moment, that I've luckily never had experience with, where you have to, accept it, you know, I accept the fact this person does this, or this person says this, or this person is this way. There are some extremes that you definitely, in my opinion, don't think you should ever accept. But if it's just a case of that person isn't reacting to the way you want them to, or doesn't conform to what you want them to be, they should never have to. And if you can't accept that they're their individual person, they react in their way, what they see is right, what they want to do, and you're constantly conflicted and fighting against that, then you need to accept the fact that as a relationship in any form, it can't happen if you're constantly doing this and going, one day they'll change, one day they'll change. They should never have to change for anybody but themselves. And if you're not happy with them, you need to let them go. And that's been a very difficult thing for me to grasp and accept, because I have fought against it, because I have my values. And when somebody didn't meet my values, I struggle to comprehend why. But why did they not say that? Because that's what I would say, and that's the way I am, and that's my belief and my values. But I'm not them. They're not me. They do their way, I do my way. If we can collaborate, amazing. If we can't, then we're not supposed to be in the same path in life, if that makes sense. So number 2 is acceptance. And as I say, all 3 of these go across friendship, family, partner, colleague, anybody. The third one is encompass growth. And that to me is so important. If you're in a relationship where the other person, this, I think, for me, this is more spoken about like a sexual relationship as opposed to a family member, but a friendship as well. It goes across all 3, but I'm sort of more speaking in a partnership, and then come a friendship next, and then family. If you're spending time with somebody and you don't feel like you're growing as a person, I don't think there's any longevity in that relationship with that person, because nobody, I feel, ever wants to be stagnant in their life. Everyone wants to have their dreams, their ambitions, even if it is to go on holiday once a year for 3 weeks, or move somewhere else, or be this sort of thing, or do this career. If you're around somebody who's not constantly pushing you for that change and that growth, then I don't think that relationship either is very healthy for you. Now, I don't mean a partner who's constantly telling you, you've got to change, you've got to lose weight, you've got to do this, you've got to change this, go here, do this. I'm not saying they have to physically say to you or force you into change, but just being in their presence should inspire you to want to better yourself, and you should feel yourself growing and getting stronger or changing because of what you want to do, not because of anybody else. As I say, we're not changing for anybody else here, but you should always feel like you're sort of stimulated mentally to have that change, because if you're two people and you're just happy to be stagnant, sitting around, there's going to come a point where there's nothing new. There's no growth. You haven't changed, and everyone changes, but you've not changed, so you're still the same person, and it's sort of like looking at the same white wall every day for the whole entire life. You're going to get to the point where, like, I'm sick of the white wall, I want to change. But if you're with somebody who's constantly pushing you into growth, and as I say, not physically pushing, not verbally pushing, just being with them has you either questioning certain values of yourself and thinking, oh, or becoming more self-aware of yourself, or physically going and doing things that are improving your life and sort of changing your pathway. That to me is the healthiest form of a relationship, because I do feel, and I have had relationships in the past through friendships, partnerships, that haven't sort of pushed me into any change, and there'll just come a point where you just think, I'm bored. I'm bored of, there's nothing, I'm not feeling like I'm being stimulated mentally, and so on. And again, that growth can be difficult. Your partner might, without realising it, or your friend without realising it, be pushing you in a direction that you fight against. Because you might not realise certain things are good for you, and then later down the line, oh, actually, you know, obviously there are things you might be pushed into doing, or feel that you're being pushed into doing, and then you realise, oh, no, don't want to go down that way, and then you can change. But the third one for me is that to be in a healthy partnership, friendship, you and that other person need to be constantly growing, I feel. Maybe you disagree with me completely, but you need to feel like you're growing. And for me, that has been, at times, again, very painful, because growth can sometimes be very painful. Change can sometimes feel unwanted to begin with, because we all like our routines. I generalise there when I say we. I said overall, most people like their routines, like the security blanket, like the safety. And if somebody is pushing you to deal with something that you've perhaps pushed down your entire life, and this is making it come to the surface, and you're thinking, no, back down you go, you know, pushing down, like pushing down a float in a swimming pool, you know, it's trying to force itself up, you're pushing it down. You would just hope that over time the float can come to the surface and you can let it go, because you've figured it out by that point. So does that make any sense? I've just whittled on for 20 minutes and maybe nobody has learned anything from that. But for me, 3 key important things to have in any relationship, whether it be a partnership, whether it be a friendship, whether it be a family relationship, whatever it may be, I feel that a healthy, good relationship that's going to have longevity should feature collaboration, not compromise. It should feature acceptance, and it should feature or encompass growth. So give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Please leave any comments below about how you feel. Maybe you feel differently. I'm not saying that's the only 3 things a relationship should have, but they're 3 really important ones for me. And I hope that maybe I'm going to push somebody to think about their growth and their change, because they might think, I've been fighting this for so long. But this is something that I've experienced myself in the last 18 months. It's been an uphill battle for me at times, and I've not always wanted it at times, but it's pushed me to being where I am now. And I feel like I'm so much stronger mentally now than I was 12 months ago. And I've come to realise that these 3 values are very valuable in a relationship. And I'm glad that all 3 of them are in my relationships that I have right now across the board. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed that video, and I shall see you very soon.